Hello there guys, so welcome back to another video on the cheap Porsche Boxster S. Now I'm hoping to fix this car today. Now I say I'm hoping to fix the car today, but I'm fairly confident I'm going to be able to fix that huge oil leak. And I'm hoping that it's just going to need these two seals right here. Now these two seals, they are for the IMS timing chain tensioner. Now, how much did I pay for these seals direct from the Porsche dealership? So for these two small seals right here, there's an O-ring and an aluminium washer. I paid the grand total of I think 13 or 14 pounds, which is a lot for two small seals, but if it fixes our oil leak, then you know, we're winning in the grand scheme of things. Now, like I said, I'm fairly confident that these two seals should fix our huge oil leak because I've went underneath the car. And as you all should know, I did give this a good clean off before. And as you can see, oil is literally just pooling on the bottom of that tensioner bolt there. So I think that the aluminium washer has corroded. I had the engine running and this thing was just dripping like mad, which would make sense. The fact that I lost around 5 litres of oil over a 250 mile journey. Yeah, this thing was absolutely dripping like mad just sitting here in the driveway. So I think we need to get this tensioner bolt removed. Before we do that though, a couple of things I want to do. So before we remove that timing chain tensioner, I want to drain the oil, because if you attempt to remove it without draining the oil, most of the oil out of the engine is just going to pour out of that opening. And so what we'll do is an oil and filter change at the same time while we're in here. Now what I also want to do is, because this is a timing chain tensioner, I want to lock the engine. Now I say lock the engine, I want to at least lock the crankshaft. Now some people have said that they've had success removing this IMS tensioner, you know, without even locking the engine at all, but I really don't want to take that chance. I don't want the timing chain to jump, because we're in a whole world of other problems then. So to lock the timing, or to lock the crank should I say, on this engine, relatively easy to do so because this is a mid-engine car. Obviously you can't gain access from the back, you have to gain access from inside the car. So if we just lift up this carpet cover right here, it should reveal a hatch that we can remove. Now I think we're supposed to remove this top cover because there is some plastic screws, but I think I should be able to remove it without having to lift this off. Just need to lift it off of the threads. There's one side, and that's the other side removed. It should just lift off now. And out of the car. And then to remove this cover, looks like just a bunch of 10mm bolts. So we'll get all those removed, and we should have access to the engine then. And that should be all of the nuts and bolts removed. So this should lift off now. And there we are. The one thing that really lets this Porsche Boxster S down now that it is nice and clean is the brake calipers, and that is where today's video sponsor Tech Pro will come in handy. Now then, Tech Pro have kindly supplied me a few of their products to try. They've supplied both their sprayable and brushable caliper paints. So the good thing about these brake caliper paints is that they are high quality acrylic enamel, so therefore they are fast drying and wear resistant. Naturally, because this is painting a brake component such as your brake caliper, it's going to have to withstand some pretty high temperatures. This can withstand up to 240 degrees Celsius, which is exactly what you need. Both these paints are easy to use and give a professional finish without the need of primer or top coat. Now Tech Pro are giving 5 of you lucky people the chance to win one of their brake caliper painting kits, so stick around to find out how to enter. But for now, let's get these brake calipers removed and get them back to looking their absolute best. Now, as you can see, I have completely stripped down, cleaned up and masked off the calipers, and now ready for paint. And after applying 3 or 4 decent coats, here is how these calipers are now looking. I think you would agree. It looks so much better now. Just need to get them built back up, then we can get them back on the car. Now then, like I said, just need to get those rebuilt brake calipers back onto the car. So another job done on this cheap Porsche Boxster S. Now I mentioned earlier, you guys can get involved and win one of these kits for free. Now if you head over to my Instagram @GeorgeOssers, go to the latest post, there'll be all of the details there how to get involved. Once again, if you want to check out Tech Pro, there'll be all of their details down in the description box below. I want to thank Tech Pro for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to it. Now then. So, how do we lock the engine, or how do we lock the crankshaft at least? So, this, of course, this pulley here, this is the crankshaft pulley. Don't know how well you can see, but just down there, there is a hole which is different to the other holes on the crankshaft pulley. The others are just a, you know, a round hole. This is kind of like a teardrop or water drop. So it's a different shape basically. Now this hole has to line up with a timing mark on the case. As long as you have a pin that you can insert, and you'll know once it's at top dead center, because you'll insert the pin, it will drop in all the way and you won't be able to turn this anymore. So basically what I've got to do is get a 24mm socket on that bolt there, and that's going to rotate the crankshaft. It's going to rotate this pulley, and then we should be able to insert a pin. Once it reaches top dead center, we should be able to insert a pin all of the way, and that then should be the crankshaft locked. Now you can buy the timing toolkit to lock it, or you can just use an 8mm pin essentially. I've just got an 8mm drill bit, so this should do the job quite nicely. I do think I'm going to have to cut this down a bit though, because yeah, no way am I going to be able to get that in there. Yeah, so the engine seems to turn really quite easily, to be honest. I mean, I know I have an extendable ratchet on here, but yeah, it's either a very smooth engine or we have no compression. Now I can feel the compression strokes. When we get to it, it definitely does get more difficult, but yeah, we should be pretty close now actually. Okay, so we got there in the end. I was just going past it, that's why it wasn't going in properly. So essentially there is a slight notch on the pulley. You won't be able to see it, but I'm pointing right at it. That lines up with that. That's top dead center there. Once that lines up, you will be able to push this in all the way. Your pin or drill bit, in my case, 8mm, anything you have really should do the job. So with that now locked, we should, in theory, be able to remove that tensioner. Needless to say, I have already drained the oil as well. So bear in mind, if you don't do this when you're doing an oil change, if you're not draining the oil, you'll have to be very quick removing that tensioner, because oil will just begin to pour out. So yeah, perfect opportunity to just do an oil change at the same time. But yeah, let's get the suitable size socket on there. Let's get it removed. So 32mm socket on there. That's it cracked loose. It might have a bit of tension behind it, so I'm just going to hold on to it. No, there's no tension on that. Okay. So remove it now. There we are, that's the tensioner removed, and the aluminium washer is actually stuck to the block, but that's that removed. So then, with the tensioner now removed, can we see anything obviously wrong with it? The tensioner definitely seems to work as it should, so the tensioner's fine. I was expecting this aluminium washer to be a bit more corroded, if I'm being honest. I've seen these where it's literally eaten away, at multiple points around here. It's not in the best shape, it is a bit corroded, but yeah, it's definitely not the worst one that I've seen. But I think this is for sure the cause of the leak. Obviously we'll swap out this and the O-ring as well while we're in here. Just makes sense to do both at the same time. And we'll put it all back together. Obviously give this a good clean up first. So there we go then. That's the tensioner cleaned up. It's obviously the old seals. Let's get the new ones installed. Then I'm gonna coat this thing in oil and just get a bit of oil pressure inside of here. There we go then, just coated this thing in some fresh oil. Let's get reinstalled back onto the car now. Okay, slide it into place. Of course, get it started by hand before we tighten it down. Now the tensioner bar has to be taut down to 80 Newton meters. There we are. That's the tensioner all now back in place. Of course, new crush washer and new O-ring as well. And with the tensioner now back in and taut down, I've also installed a fresh oil filter and of course done an oil change as well. So we can now head back into the car. We can remove our crankshaft locking pin. There we are. And now we should be fine to fire this engine back into life and hope that the timing hasn't jumped. And I guess also hope that we've fixed that huge oil leak. I guess here goes nothing. Seemed to fire into life, no issues whatsoever. It seemed to sound very quiet as well. Before, when I would start it up, bear in mind I do have the hatch still off, so you should be able to hear the engine, you know, as I'm speaking. But before there was a noticeable rattle on startup. Now, is that because the engine is? I mean, the engine's not even warm; it's still cold. So I was going to say, is it because the engine's now slightly warmer? I don't know, but yeah, surely just replacing those seals and giving that tensioner a good clean out hasn't fixed a rattle, has it? I don't know, but we need to go underneath and check to see if that oil leak's still there. No! How the hell is it still leaking? There must be a hole in the end of the tensioner. There has to be. That's not coming from the seal, that's coming from inside here. Damn. So because we've still not fixed that huge oil leak by just replacing the tensioner seals, I've had to go out and buy a new tensioner, genuine from the dealership. I think this was like £102. So it's not absolutely extortionate, it's still expensive, but it is what it is at this point. It needs to be replaced, of course. So here is the new tensioner then. I'm assuming my original one has just somehow rusted through in there. Maybe it's quite thin, I don't know. What it does look quite rusty in there. You'll see it when I remove it again, but yeah, I don't know how. I don't know if it's like a common problem or what, but yeah, I'm just going to get this one installed now and then check, see if we have any leaks. I'm sure this should fix the problem now, but yeah, quite a strange one. I don't know if it's I don't know if anyone else has ever had this problem before, but yeah, this new one is going in now. So new tensioner now installed. And here is a closer look at the original tensioner. It must be a very, very slight hole or crack in there. Like I said, it has rusted quite a bit. I mean, the actual tensioner part is, you know, spotless, as you would imagine, but yeah, it must be just a tiny pinhole in there, and once it's under pressure, obviously it just leaks out like a sieve. So But yeah, now fairly confident this was our problem all along. Again, we will remove our crank locking pin and fire the engine back into life and check again for leaks. Here goes nothing. Right, moment of truth. Yes, bone dry. Yes, get in there, massive result. We can really move forward with this car now. We can hopefully get this thing back on the road soon. That was the thing that was worrying me when I bought this car. That oil leak. Obviously I knew about things, you know, cosmetic, little bits and pieces that needed doing. I knew about the broken spring, but when it comes to an oil leak, you know, anything can be, anything I guess can be the case. You know, you could have a cracked head, a cracked block or anything like that. The previous owner did say though, it was leaking from the timing chain tensioner, and he was spot on, to be honest. Obviously I thought initially it was just the crush washer, but like I said, the tensioner itself must have rusted away, must be a slight pinhole in there. But we've done it, we've got the oil leak fixed. Let's move on to some interesting stuff now on this car. Well then, there we go, job done for now, I suppose. I guess we really did dodge a bullet with that one. I want to thank you all for watching this video. Remember to give this one a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so. I will see you all in our next one.